It's going down. It's going down. It's going down on the Tiddy Pow Wow. It's going down. It's going down. It's going down on the Tiddy Pow Wow. It's going down. It's going. It's going down. It's going. It's going down on the Tiddy Pow Wow.
Hello, welcome to episode 12 of the Tiddy Pow Wow with your girls, Bernica Joan and Quisha Denise.
What's up?
We are
Bernica?
back.
Yes,
What's
we
up,
are. It's been
Flynn?
a little hiatus.
I know.
I missed it.
I know. It feels good to be sitting in this chair again.
I know. Up against this mic.
I know. Life kind of got in the way for a little bit.
It did. But we back.
Yeah. Just had to deal with some things. But now we're back and ready to just jump all in on what's been going on in this world
I know.
outside of our world, you know.
Yeah. Especially in the news here lately. I know, we've been dealing with a lot going on. But these abortion laws have been really making a lot of people upset.
Yeah, making a lot of headlines.
Mm-hmm.
It just really shows where the world is, the way of the world is, and a lot of people are, just this movement or this change in society. It's making a lot of people upset. A lot of people are afraid, just of the future, and what could come out of this.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, yes, they definitely are regressing time as far as how they are trying to go back and retract those laws.
Make America great again.
Man, has it ever been that great?
No, but I mean, great according to their standards.
Yeah.
What they feel is great.
Yeah. Well, I know on this issue, me and you, we have some opposing views about how we feel about it. And a lot of people probably ain't gonna like me after this.
Or me.
But it just is what it is. I mean,
it's just one of those real tough conversations that need to be talked about. And even if you're not somebody that has to worry about this or isn't dealing with this issue, it doesn't personally affect you. It does affect people around you and just the way that, like I say, the way the society is going and the way that they're making laws and the rights. I feel like, the rights and the free speech and the way to choose whatever it is that you want to do. It's just they're really putting a lot of restrictions on things that has made this country supposed to be the greatest country because we're free. But now it's starting to, like you say, digress and go in a different direction.
Right. But I think a lot of people would feel like that, like in other countries, probably feel like we're so free that we are almost losing morality in some ways. And I really feel like at the core of this debate is really how you view whether a baby or a fetus or whatever is a life. And if it is a life, then who is supposed to protect it? You know what I mean? So I think for me, when it comes to this discussion, it's a hard one to have as far as because when I think about the choice, I do feel like the choice is in choosing to have sex because we know the possibilities and the outcomes. And where I probably am understanding of people wanting to have an abortion, the anxiety and the fear that comes with like not knowing what's next or if you can do this as far as being a mother or if you want to even do it. I think that's different to me than somebody's choice. I mean, I understand it, but I think when it comes to somebody's choice who didn't have a choice, like rape and incest, and like this new Alabama law.
Yeah, so I was going to say, what are the laws that's like causing such an uproar?
So in Alabama, they just passed a law that a woman can't have an abortion under any circumstances, even if she is raped or in an incestuous situation. Like they don't have any um like anything that is prevents her. I think unless it's maybe the life of the mom is threatened.
Mm.
Um, and so of course in other states they pass in those heartbeat bills where there is an emphasis on whether or not the heart is beating yet, which we know that by the time most people find out they're pregnant, there usually is a heartbeat. So I mean that's where the uproar is
Unless you're
coming
like
in
me and
at.
you roll over and you know you
You like again.
right, exactly. Oh, there we go. No. I mean, I guess, with the whole situation, I think too when you think about people making it's like it has to be an educated and a mature decision. And I
Mm-hmm.
just feel like with these restrictions, we are living in a world where we can say that, oh, if you're having sex, it's a choice and you should be, you should make the right, make the right decision, or you should, take precautions, all of that. But at the end of the day, there are people, as young as 11, 12 years old, kids out here having sex, and girls that are getting pregnant. And I don't feel like because at that age, if you're under 18, really,
Mm-hmm.
or if you're not mentally or emotionally mature to make the decision to have a child or to bring a life into the world, that's a big decision. I really feel like there should be, the option of to have the choice,
Right.
because it's that that can just cause a whole different effect and change the turnout for that child in the future. Not saying it would make their life worse, but it would definitely change their future. And I feel like at that young of an age, you shouldn't even be able to make a decision that you should have the choice to make that decision, let's say that, into
Mm-hmm.
how that's going to affect your future. You shouldn't be made to have a baby because at 12 or 13 you had sex and got pregnant. You know what I'm saying? Maybe your first time, and then now you have to have a baby because you slipped up and made mistakes like so many kids do, adults do.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of my stance on it, to where I feel like it's just too strict. And then of course, most importantly, for a person that's gotten raped, like the fact that they've gotten raped and then now they have to bring in, and I think that was one of the stories that I had read, and I forgot where it was. Maybe it was Alabama,
Mm-hmm.
where the 11-year-old girl had gotten raped, and now she's gonna have to be forced to have a baby by her rapist. And then because now these states are really, favoring fathers' rights, which is not necessarily a wrong thing, a bad
Mm-hmm.
thing. But in this case, it would be, because once that baby is born and this man gets out of jail for raping this 11-year-old, he would have the right to be able to get joint custody of his child with this girl that he raped. So then on top of that, she will have to see the man
Right.
on a regular basis that raped her to co-parent with this person that violated her and that put her in this position. So what do you think the emotional, mental, you know,
Well,
and mental.
that's where my stance on how I feel about abortion is. I'm pro-choice for other people, not for myself, because I'm not raising their kids. I don't
Mhm.
necessarily agree. I definitely don't agree. Not even necessarily. I don't agree with abortion being a method of birth control, because due to just being irresponsible. Um, Now, I did see some statistics, even on the CDC, that primarily um, most women who are having abortions are in their 20s. And in fact, the younger kids, even the kids we say the 12 and 13-year-olds and everything like that, they only accounted for 0.03% of abortions in a lot of statistics from like 2015. And then so they're not having these situations, and even rape and incestuous situations were not uh the primary reasons people were going to have um abortions. And so it was like 86% of unmarried women mostly women in their 20s, and they had about a 27% abortion rate. So uh, I think what bothered me the most about the statistics that I read was that um, Black women have 3.5 times more abortions than white women. And I think that really bothered me because, I feel like certain conversations need to be had in our communities and with our daughters and even amongst ourselves about, you know, how we protect ourselves and make sure that we don't, like there are those instances where people have used birth control and get pregnant. But I don't believe that that is primarily what's going on. I think that a lot of people are finding themselves in situations and they are worried about what's next. Are they feeling like they can't do it? And so this is a choice. Um, but I wonder why we're not having more conversations about the choices that we make prior to having to make that choice and trying to be uh, proactive instead of being reactive. You understand what I'm saying?
I agree. I understand. I also feel like too, even with the statistic of the women, being majority of the women being in their 20s. I mean, even in your 20s, early 20s, even sometimes late 20s, depending on the maturity of the woman. Not necessarily saying they're right or that it's a wrong or a right answer, but people slip up. People make decisions or get caught up, get lost in the sauce, and then boom, you pregnant. It only takes one time. So here you are, you pregnant, and regardless of what the situation was that got you in that situation, I just feel like you said, I'm totally there with you where I'm pro-choice. Where I am in my life here at 32 years old, I don't choose to have an abortion. But for anybody else, I do you live your life. That's your choice. And I feel like that's your right. But, 20 something year old me, when I did go through that, um, I was glad that I had the choice to be able to make that decision, because in that moment, that's what I felt like I needed to do for the situation that I was in. And I couldn't imagine this being a state that said that, because I believe I was like 9 weeks pregnant when I had my abortion. So then I wouldn't even had a choice. You know what I'm saying? Like I would have had to go to a different state to have the abortion or whatever. But I just feel like even in your 20s, like people are still very, people make all kind of decisions that they regret, in their 30s or 40s. I wish I hadn't done that, in my 20s. So that could have, and that's like I said, a very easy mistake to get pregnant, because it's so easy to get pregnant. It's not like, going out here and sleeping with somebody's husband. Like that's a choice. Like if you're gonna have sex, like it's always that 1% chance, even on whatever birth control, that you can get pregnant. And I feel like once that you're in that situation, it's up to you. What you can handle. Like my mom always said, what you got and can you handle it? Whatever your situation is, if you can't handle it, regardless as to the situation you're in now currently, or your plans for the future, if you feel like that's not going to be the look you want for your future, I just feel like that's a woman's right. And I don't have the right to judge, but maybe that's just because I have had to be in that situation. So I totally understand the circumstances.
Right. And I think that's where with me, I feel like I've been in a place where I wanted to have an abortion, because in the situation that I got pregnant in at the time, I had probably a lot of shame and different things that I was dealing with about having another baby. And also even my daughter at the time being like a year and a half old, just feeling like this is going to be so overwhelming, I can't do it. But I think because of the way I see it, and I guess I do see it as, I feel like as soon as you go to the doctor and they tell you that you're pregnant, like it's a baby. So like in my mind, I guess I felt selfish for the thought even crossing my mind, because I just felt like in my mind I didn't feel like it was right for me to make that choice based off of me not doing the right thing by my own body. You know what I mean? And so I don't think people just, slip and fall into the bed with someone. You know what I mean? I think that we are constantly making choices. And for most people, people make choices every day that they have to live with for years. You know what I mean? And so, and I hear a lot when I have this conversation, because I've had it quite a few times in these few weeks leading up, because I knew that we were going to talk about this. But I really wanted to talk to people who I knew had abortions. I wanted to like get their take on how they were feeling at the time when they had their abortion. And what I felt like I uh, heard a lot in what people were saying and what they weren't saying was that they had a lot of fear and anxiety. And like you said, I couldn't imagine like having my baby in this situation. And so to me, there's like a spirit of hopelessness that this situation is not going to change. And so I need to do something about it to immediately relieve myself.
Or the hopelessness of this situation is going to change my life, for whatever, or for, and I don't mind to share that in that situation, when I made that decision, I was in a abusive relationship. And I was like, there is no way that I'm going to bring a child into this world. You know what I mean? But then, it's you got to kind of roll with the hand that you're dealt and just kind of make the decisions, because then you never know what decision you might come up with. You can't really, be so, just be humble, because you never know how life kind of will flip on you. So it's best just to really, I think too, like, talking about, being like the anxiety that like you said, of me having, like going through that, and so many women have when they're faced with that decision. I just feel like, even though it should just be something that, like I say, an emotionally and mentally mature person should be able to make, or preferably if it's someone who's younger, like a teen or something, an adolescent, that someone can kind of help them make that decision that's emotionally or mentally mature. Because really, I mean, in our culture, a lot of the times, especially years ago, a lot of times they just like, okay, you're pregnant, you're going to get an abortion. Like the parents sometimes would make kids like, or the teenager or whatever, like, you're going to do this, without even the child having a thought as to what it is that they want to do with their own body. And then here they are at 14, 16 years old, get an abortion. And then who knows how that might mess them up later on down the road. But it wasn't even their decision over their body. It was their parents, because inevitably when you're a minor, you kind of have to go with that. I don't know what it is now, if they still have to have the child's consent. I would imagine after a certain age, or at a certain age, the doctors wouldn't do it if I
think in certain states there are restrictions about whether or not there needs to be consent from the parent. And so, I mean, and in that situation, I have daughters. So what I say how I feel about abortion. You know what I mean? Because I guess in my mind, I could have had an abortion. I had thoughts of having an abortion because of the situation that I found myself in. And at that time, me and him had just decided that we was going to break up. And then I found out I was pregnant like 2 days later. So I had a lot of issues about what I wanted to do. But I guess in that situation, like I said, I just felt like there was, I felt like I was being selfish about the way I felt about it. But now having daughters, like if my daughter was to get pregnant at like 13, I would be devastated. And I don't know how far my mind might go about that.
You don't know what you're gonna do until you actually present it with that situation.
And that's why even though
and that's why I say be humble, because people are so quick to pass judgment on people for what they do or decisions they've had to make. And I have been that person, and then I get in that situation, and I totally, and then I make a similar mistake like someone that I had previously judged. So
everything that I hope I don't have this situation ever, because like actually have to
get two chastity belts,
girl, because in my mind I know the overwhelmingness of being a mother. It is a huge sacrifice, you know what I mean? But I guess, like I said, when it comes to just us abortion rates have not always been this high, and there are countries that don't even have abortion. You know what I mean? So I think we have to still have conversations about our morality and where what we need to do to avoid it. Like, I don't think, like, in 2017 they said 879,000 abortions were performed. Like, to me, it's almost a million abortions.
Yeah.
There's a certain amount of recklessness that has to be happening.
Yeah. Well, and I also feel though, even in other countries, even if they don't have abortion, I feel like there's something going on. Like, even if, and that's why people are so worried, because they, like, if they ban abortions, people are going to be doing a lot of, like, old school method abortions, or however they do it, backdoor abortions, this and that. There's going to be people coming up dead. Like, there's going to be a lot of just trauma, from this law being, and that could be those other countries that don't have abortion. You'd never know what the murder rate's looking like, or what, the death rate's looking like, because people are dying from doing their own, home abortions, just crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not, because people are still, like, it doesn't matter what country you're in, people are having sex unprotected, people are getting pregnant, and people are dealing with it however they have to deal with it.
Yeah.
It's just that with this now, it's putting restrictions on it, so it's making people go to other measures that, depending on what their situation is, may be, dire measures, and they do something extreme to get rid of it.
Yeah. And I understand that. I really do. Like, so I am very sympathetic to the situations that other people find themselves in, especially, like, being a therapist. I hear a lot of stories of, like, people's just being in desperate situations and feeling like they have to do something about it and make desperate decisions. I think that there's not enough talk about even the way having an abortion affects people mentally.
Yeah.
Because there are women who have abortions. And I think what determines whether or not you have mental issues with it, really is how you view it prior to having to do it, right? Like, I know I'm probably a person that would have a lot of mental issues if I had an abortion, because of how I think about it in my head as, a life. But there are people who necessarily they talk about the science of it, and so they like, well, at this point, then, it's not that big of a deal for me to have an abortion at 5 or 6 weeks or whatever. And so for them, they may not have no residual feelings about it. You know what I mean? And I understand us, like, not judging and being like, I see Ariel put let people do them.
Yeah.
And I get that too. But at the same time, like, we can't be so, well, let everybody do them, and not, and ignore that certain things are becoming an issue, or that this is becoming a trend, or that this is becoming a method of birth control, rather than it's becoming the rule rather than the exception. You know what I'm saying?
And that's why I feel like talks like this are so necessary, because you can really help people or influence people, just through conversation. That's why I feel like conversation and just even opening up the door for the talk is important, because you have to allow people to do what they do. But like you say, education, like letting people know, or just having people like talk to a therapist. Like, I know with, like, time constraints, if you're pregnant and don't know if you want to make this decision or not, you have a small window to figure it out. But I feel like you do maybe need to seek some professional help, especially if you don't have people in your life that are emotionally mature enough to help you make the best decision for yourself. But really, inevitably, it comes down to you. But there have to be conversations and just education put out there for people, because so many people, I mean, just being young, just get it, done because it's a right and you can do it. And you're absolutely right. I don't think that, it should just be carelessly done. But I feel like if people were educated, or if they had people around them that were strong and supportive and that could help them make the best decision for them, then there wouldn't be so many just frivolous abortions, out there.
Right. I see. DJ Ice said women should be able to make a decision what they want to do with their body.
Right. And see, that too, that's correct. I agree. I'm totally for that, because I'm like, woman's power, whatever. But then I can also look at it as far as Now what about the father?
Exactly.
What if he wants the baby? You know, I'm sympathetic to the father because I'm like, that's half his baby. He has the right. But then on the other half, it's like,
but he ain't got to carry it.
He ain't got to carry it. And he can go get somebody else pregnant that wants the baby.
But also, I think when it comes even to the fathers, I don't think that any woman should make a determination on whether or not she wants to keep her baby based on a dude.
No.
Because a lot of women, they do make that decision based on the guy that they got pregnant by. Oh, I'm not going to have a baby by him. You know what I'm saying? Or I'm not going to have, just like, but a lot of times the same women that do that, they still end up in situations with men they might not necessarily want a baby by. You know what I'm saying? When they do have kids. So it's like, I think that your decision to be a mother should be based solely on you and you being a mother. You know what I'm saying? And not what he's gonna do. Because at the end of the day, even the best fathers, you can start off having a man who's just the best father in the world. And what if y'all not together and he do go have other kids and then he can't provide for your child like he used to, or he's not available emotionally and spiritually for your child like he should be, and physically and financially. So there's a lot of risks to having a baby by anybody because you don't never know how the tables are going to turn out.
And that's why I urge I try not to be like the Debbie Downer, just because of my life and things that I've experienced and other situations that I've witnessed. But like, I've had several young girls in my seat, and I know 2 of them had their babies. One of them actually decided not to have the baby, but I urged them, like, do not. I know it's all good and it's lovey-dovey right now, but if you're on the fence about what to do, you make that decision about you. Like, at the end of the day, he could be in a car wreck, he could get locked up, He could get murdered, anything can happen. So you have to, or he can walk away, like a lot of them choose to. But you have to make the decision based on yourself, your circumstances, your mentality, your life as to about having this baby, like factoring nobody else into it. And that could be a very selfish thing because the father probably should be feel like, he probably would feel like, well, what about me if he wants to be active? But like I say, sometimes people that have the best intentions or they can really act like they really want to be a part could then switch up later on. And then, what do you do? So you really have to make the decision based on yourself, as if you are the sole person that's going to be taking care of this baby, because inevitably
if you're not married, then even if you are married, y'all can get a divorce and you still the sole custodial parent. So and then I know he so DJ Ice is like, it's not the government's decision. I think where people would probably disagree with that is that a lot of public funding is used for abortion in certain states. And so that's where definitely people who are conservative Republicans and stuff have a real issue with their dollars going towards something that they don't believe in. So I think that's where where it gets highly charged in the government, and then just people's, religious or moral compasses about what they believe in that situation. Now, I definitely feel like a lot of conservatives don't believe in the abortion pill or the morning after pill. I think that should be more readily available than anything, because I feel like there's not even a chance. It don't even give a chance for a child to even develop. You know what I'm saying?
But it also has to have the person be very like proactive, like I said, like me, like you, like I'm pregnant, like you gotta go, because
I think that if you feel like something, that you didn't protect yourself and it feel like it's a possibility, then, but there are people who do use protection and stuff, and sometimes they still get pregnant, and
then you don't even know until you've missed your period and it's past the
window of time.
Exactly.
And so like I said, I actually was even more stricter about the way I felt about it before I had all these conversations over the weeks. And I'm definitely not a person who of just extremely high morality. Morality. I mean, I done had kids, 3 of them by 3 different guys. So I'm not sitting here, judging nobody for being in that situation, because I don't feel like I can do that comfortably anyway. But I just feel like we need to, instead of being rah rah rah, everybody can do what they want to do, we need to be like, you know what, you can do what you want to do,
Well,
but make sure that you doing what is best for you, and also making sure that you're not continuing to make the same mistakes over and over again.
Okay.
I mean, I think it should probably be a limit on it, at least.
Yeah. Well, even going back to the comment about DJ Ice, it's not the government's decisions. That you exactly what you were saying was right. But even on the other hand, like, yes, they're not, because of the conservative, standpoint and all of that, they feel the way they do about abortions. But then on the other hand, like I said, they want people to have these babies, and they're putting all these strict laws on having babies, but then they're cutting funding for government assistance. So what are you going to do when what are all these people going to do when they're forced to have these babies, but then they can't provide for them, and then they can't get the assistance that they need as well? So then it's going to be, the more speak of morality. I mean, the world, it just feels like it's just going to go worse.
It's going to shit.
It's going to shit. And I don't even know if I was going to say that it was on the tip of my tongue and you said it. So you're absolutely right. But yes, but then going back, so that's that. But even going to the whole morality point, like I think I was one of those people, and I have no problem talking about how I felt or how I feel with this decision. I didn't have any. I'm not gonna say I didn't have any, but I wasn't emotionally affected after having the abortion like some women may be, like in tears and crying and stuff. Like, if anything, I was just had more anxiety leading up to it. And then once it was over, I'm just like, okay, where am I going to get something to eat at? I'm hungry. Like, like I wasn't like, so then after that, it was like, okay, I got to live my life. I got to go move on. This is taken care of, on to the next. And that may seem heartless to some people, but to me, that was just at that point, okay, I was more anxious about getting it taken care of. And then now it was taken care of, I need to go on and handle whatever else is going in my life and tackle that and take care of that. So I wasn't really tripping.
Right. I think it would seem heartless to somebody looking from the outside looking in. But one, there's not going to be an emotional attachment, at that point anyway, for most people. And so, if you view and it's all about how you view your pregnancy too. Like, if you view your pregnancy as a problem that you have to take care of, or something that weighs you down, then I can see how you would make that decision and feel relief after having made it, because that's not something that you wanted.
Now, don't get me wrong. I do. Like, I have had, of course, different little moments, because I have 2 boys and I really have no desire, and I've made the decision not to have any more kids. And that's just my own reasons. Because like I always say, what you got and can you handle it? I can handle my 2 boys, and that's what I got. And I love that. But I do also think, when I think about, the abortion that I have, like, well, what if that was a girl? Like, what if that was my girl? What if that could have been my girl? You know what I'm saying? Like, I've had those thoughts. So, what would my life had been like had that child come into the picture? And, because it definitely, I would have had a different life had I had that child. My life would have took a different turn, and I wouldn't probably be sitting here. You never know. So I just feel like every decision that you make in your life sets you up to be exactly where it is that you needed to be. So whether that was not the most morale decision to make, that was the decision I needed to make. So that's why I really am sympathetic with people that decide to do that. And I just kind of encourage, especially like even my client that had made that decision, I just encourage her, like, you need to get into therapy. You need to get into doing some stuff to kind of like help pull yourself out of this depression, because after she went through hers, she was very depressed. I mean, she's young. She was only 22. So, we have a caller and we don't even take calls.
We don't even take calls. Who's calling us?
Who is that?
So and that's the thing, is where I'm the supportive friend that will take you to the abortion clinic. You know what I mean? I don't, even if I don't agree with it, your reasons or whatever, I'm gonna support your decision. Even with clients and stuff like that, I support people's decisions, because God does give us free will. What you choose to do with that free will is up to you. That's between you and God. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I'm also that friend that's going to try to talk you out of doing it at all. You know what I mean? Because especially if I feel like it's coming from a place of fear or feeling like you can't do it or whatever, I would try to talk you out of it and be like, you can. It's what the way it looks now ain't gonna be the way it always looks. But even with me, I cried the my last pregnancy. I cried the first 4 months because I was not ready for another baby. You know what I'm saying? I was very depressed when I was pregnant with her because I was not ready. So I understand if anybody felt any worse than I did at that point, I could see them making that decision. You know what I'm saying? Now, of course, now I'm glad, that she's here and she's beautiful and she's fun. But my life is overwhelming.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? As far as trying to raise, I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. That's overwhelming ages to have, So, like you said, what you got and can you handle it?
Yep. And then, like you said, too, just knowing that your life will not be the same in 6 months. Life can always be different. So, no matter how overwhelming or how stressful it is, at this point right now today, things will always change. And there'll always be a shift in things. It gets greater later. So just don't, I guess just going back to just always being, if you can be more, just making a more mature decision and really taking time to make that decision. With my first son, I was going to get an abortion with my first son. I had the appointment ready and everything at 7:00 that morning. I was supposed to be there, I think at 7:45. And I didn't go. So had I decided, had I woke up in a different mind frame that morning, I might have, what I'm saying? My life would never be the same. Yeah. So, I just feel like every decision that you make or everything that happens in your life, it's just supposed to lead you up exactly to where it is you're supposed to be. In it's a story you can tell. It's wisdom, advice, exactly to get to the next person.
Other people. And then even I hear a lot of people say in their defense of abortion, they'll be like, well, if people bring kids into the world and then they don't take care of them and then, they're out here and going through different things or abused and stuff. And I guess because that's primarily what I work with is abused people or people who have been through traumatic situations. I still look at them as like, I'm glad you're here and that your life won't always be the same and it won't always be this rough. And because if people thought that way about even if my mother thought that way, you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't be here because I did have a very rough childhood and being in the system and all that kind of stuff. So
your life was still worth being brought into this world, even under the circumstances that your mother was going through
even
at that
under
time.
Poor circumstances, I feel like my life was worth me being able to have the chance. And I guess I don't understand how even if you agree that that it is a choice and let people have their choice, I don't understand how a lot of people can't even acknowledge the issues on the other side or the things that people do take issue with.
I just feel like our whole government is it's Democratic or Republic. It's either you for it or you against it. It's like there's really no gray area.
And I am a gray area person.
Yeah, me too. I am. I'm not a black and white person at all. Like I'm not one way or the other. I can see other sides to it, but with our system, this is kind of how it is. Like once they put a law into place, it is you do or you don't. And that's kind of the decision that you have to kind of roll with. And I going into like how to make this conversation more beneficial and educational and to be proactive and kind of help in uplifting like Tiana Middleton, TT, the young lady who has the event this weekend. She ain't a young lady, she actually older than me. But she's having the event this weekend that we're being a part of, the Mom Friends in Atlanta. She has a radio station, a radio show on Saturday mornings, and she's gonna kill me because I don't know what radio station it is, but 8:00 Saturday mornings. You can.
I thought was it WLOU?
I'm not sure.
All right, I don't know.
I ain't gonna. But she discusses abstinence. I mean, she has like a organization for young girls like to push abstinence. And that is probably the best way to get this, to prevent this situation, from being an issue, is to just push that. Because I know me, I mean, I really don't have many regrets in my life, but when I look back at how young I was when I became sexually active, some of my partners that I have who were just non-factors that should never have even been given a chance. I wish that I maybe had been a part of something like that. And of course, like I said, I grew up Jehovah's Witness, so I knew I wasn't supposed to be having premarital sex and fornicating and all of that. But I mean, we're imperfect, and usually when you're sheltered and you have strict parents, those are the ones that usually rebel, and that was me. But I also feel like what she's doing, putting a program like that into place for our young Black girls, it's so important, because it's almost like in our society growing up that if you ain't having sex, something's wrong with you.
Yeah.
So,
but that's the thing. Even when people like say, you know, I don't want to have a baby by him. Well, where do we teach our girls don't even lay down with a dude you wouldn't even want to have a baby by? You know what I'm saying? Like in my situation, even though I was scared to have another baby, especially a third child, at that time, like he's the best father in the world, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, like everybody that I had, you know, everybody, I know I feel like I got 100 baby daddies, but
girl, you don't.
But yes, I feel even when I kind of like Social Security number, you know, office or anywhere, I gotta say their names because I named them, gave them all the same, you know, their dad's last name. I'd be like, oh, I promise I'm not a thot. No. You know what I'm saying? Like I was in a relationship with all of them. We were all together, like, you know, but whatever. And not to say that a person who ain't is a thot, but it's just like in my mind, I feel the need to, and that's probably because of how I was raised, like you, kind of strict about like, don't do this, don't do that. So in my mind, even now as a 36-year-old woman, there's still some shame associated with me having 3 children, you know, in situations with people that I was not married to. But I can say that they were guys that I didn't mind having a baby by. Like my anxiety and stuff was not about who I was having my baby by, as far as what they would do for my kid. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, we gotta teach our daughters. Like I want my daughters to think like, no, he ain't even good enough for me to lay down with, because I don't even know like who he is or how he is or whatever. Like not to even go there. And that's the conversation that more so that I felt strongly about. It wasn't really about, oh, you know, nobody should have an abortion ever, because of course I feel like there are circumstances where a woman should be able to have an abortion. You know what I'm saying? But I think when it comes to us, we have to go back to kind of teaching our kids not to be as reckless as we were. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like I have been reckless in certain ways, you know, whether I was in a relationship or not. I was not married or maybe even ready at certain points to have kids.
Or even going back to the title of our first conversation ever, she didn't know she was gold. Like, girl, you are not, he don't even deserve to lay down with you. Like you know what I mean? Like that's the conversation, like really, because I wish if I hadn't known what I known, I mean, I said, I like I said, I don't really regret a lot, but the guy I lost my virginity to, oh God, throw up right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he didn't even deserve, you know, that from me. Like that should have been a special thing at that time of my life. And there's nothing special about it when I go back to think about it.
But I think that also your experiences, even that in that regard, a lot of times are based off experiences you may have had. Like for me, you know what I'm saying? I lost my virginity in being abused, right? So like the next guy that I had sex with, he didn't matter that much to me, because I was used to having to give my body to somebody without me really wanting to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, you know, sex wasn't me valuing my body, and my sex was not a thing for me at that time, because I was young and I had already been used violated in that way.
Yeah. I understand.
And so my first sexual experience, like at my virginity, I wasn't even trying to even have sex with him. Like, you know, it's kind of like he kind of like did what he wanted to do, but I didn't say no.
It was almost so
I really like,
it was like almost an obligation. Like you felt like you had put yourself in that situation, so this you should just follow through with it.
Because because he actually offered just to, you know, just to do a little something orally. And I was like, okay, but I don't want to, do anything else. And he just,
he
went
did.
on about his business. And I was like, I felt violated.
But
though.
do you
I
know-
never talked to him again after that day.
Wow.
And
But-
he broke, like he broke my virginity. But that's the first person I willingly
Yeah.
had sex with.
Well, and the craziest thing
Well, I didn't
is
really willingly.
even
but,
going, I had seen, and I don't know how true this is. I mean, going off topic just a little bit, but saying that there is now, like, with these laws being put in place, and that just shows, like you said, like the world going to shit. It's very scary, especially when you grow up with I'm not a Jehovah's Witness. I grew up in a Jehovah's Witness faith. I do believe in the sign of the times. I feel like we are living in the last days. Just from with everything that's going on, I believe all of this is a part of it because they talk about, and I'm not even going to go into all that, but we hear about the, nation rising up against nation, religion, it being a war on religion, being a war on the political. And I feel like that's what we see all around us. But even I had seen that there was an article saying that they were going to, dang, I lost my thought.
We was talking about the world going to shit.
No. Talk about rape, the consent of rape. Like, you can't, like, even if you are in it, like, if you say yes, if you decide to say no, if you already said yes, then even if you say no, they don't mean nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's basically what it was saying. Like, if you agree and you're in the bed with him and then he getting ready and then you're like, no, I don't want to do it. You're already there. So now you got to go through it because you agreed to put yourself in that situation to begin with. And that's crazy.
I know because
I know how I've been in that situation. So I'm like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah. And I've been in that situation, even with that situation of me, like, well, you taking it further than I said you could go. Still feeling all the emotions that you would feel after having been violated, even though I agreed to this.
Yeah.
But you did that. You know what I'm saying? And so, and then imagining in having this conversation made me think about, had I gotten pregnant in that situation, like how different my views might be at this point in my life.
Yeah.
So women, young girls, like, not valuing themselves enough to be, to be able to just, like, because a lot of people, they almost make sex just like it's a leisurely activity. Like, girl, go and do whoever you want to do. If you want to do it to him, then do it to him, do it to him, do it to whoever. Like, and I just don't think that that's the direction that we should be going in, like, as a people, because when we look at our own lives and we look at what we deal with, because we made babies in situations that weren't solid, there's a lot of repercussions behind it. You know what I'm saying? And so it makes your life harder when you do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Versus you being with somebody and y'all being a team and y'all deciding to have baby and be together forever or whatever.
But even with that, I just feel like that's why I say make the decision for you, because it don't matter. The first situation I had, we weren't in a relationship. We just knew each other and I got pregnant.
Yeah.
The second situation was the happily ever after. Everything was kind of, even though we weren't married, it was more of a situation to where
you thought it was
yeah, and on both ends,
thought it was forever.
Definitely. And then it turned out to not be, so it's just, you never know what you got. So that's why I say I always make the decision for you. I'm like, well, wait till you get married. And they're like, yes, under the best circumstances. And if that's how if you feel that marriage is the arrangement for you to bring a child into the world, then that's your stance. Like I say, some people feel like as long as you're a person and you feel like you can financially, physically, mentally, emotionally take care of that child, have a baby with somebody that you agree, okay, we're going to have this baby and I'm going to have this baby. Or people now, homosexuals, they're getting having surrogates and what I'm saying, having their own babies and raising babies as a single man or as a single woman. So really, there's no right or wrong way to do it. So for somebody like, oh, I wasn't married, I'm gonna wait till I get married, that's not gonna change the outcome of your life. That's just gonna kind of set you up for what you feel is the right way to make it go.
I think really just making sure, like, that you have a foundation, because
a foundation, and it doesn't have to include another person. It could just be yourself.
Right. But I feel like that if we didn't have access to government things, you know what I'm saying? Like, we lived in a society where the government didn't take care of certain things, you would have to make different decisions because you would be in terrible situations. You know what I'm saying? Like, we would have to, when I think about even having my first child, I was like 21. You know what I'm saying? I was making like 12, 16 an hour or something. I did have an apartment. I did have a car. But at the same time, like, to me, I was still in poverty, struggling. Like, and even when I did qualify for things, you know, like in my mind, if they didn't have those things, if I didn't get daycare assistance, if I didn't have, like, how would my life be affected? And the government has to take on those responsibilities, what they do for us now. I do believe at some point that stuff is going to change, and that's where in some ways I probably am kind of Republican minded as far as it goes to us being more independent as a people. You know, I think even Malcolm X thought that way. You know what I'm saying? He was like, you can't be codependent on your oppressor. You know what I'm saying? So there are things that if we didn't have in place, we would be in terrible situations. And I think it would have to force you to be like, oh no, I ain't. No.
Well, and that just only pushes you to be your higher self in any way.
Exactly.
You know, and I just feel like even with you making a comment, there are a lot of people that, I mean, like in a lot of, you know, in our culture, especially, that, you know, they feel like because of the system that has been put into place and how it has been very comfortable with the government assistance, you know, people knowing that, oh, they're going to have another baby, they're going to get their food stamps upped up another $200. Like that to them is like an achievement.
And that
oh, that's just them winning. You know, I'm getting another baby that I can file on my taxes. You know what I'm saying? Next year, I'm going to get more back. And I'm just like, if that's the factors that you're basing off of having a baby, then you really, your mental's all messed up. And you're definitely not emotionally mature to have another child.
I'm going to tell you, the funniest thing is when I did get pregnant for the first time, my mother was so disappointed, even though, because I was in college, and even though I did have my own apartment, have my own, like I wasn't, you need nobody for nothing, right? But I remember her saying to me, I cannot believe you. You're just going to end up out here struggling and being on welfare. And I remember thinking to myself, I am not going to be on welfare. I'm not going to like in my mind, I had to like prove her wrong about that. But the reality is a lot of, and there were times when I did, you know, incrementally have to get food stamps and stuff like that. But there are a lot of people who they wouldn't have no survival tactics if they did not have public housing, food stamps, and AFDC and what's it called now, TANF or whatever now. And so, like, we gotta be real about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, we but I think a lot of times y'all, like, do you, but who's gonna pay for you doing you?
Exactly. Or how it's become so much more of the gender reveals and the posts and the show the baby and this and that.
I'm proud of. And
socially, but it's real. But when it boils down to taking care of business, you know what I mean? You're not.
Yeah, and half of them people ain't not. And I'll be the first to say that most of them people in the room with you at them baby showers and stuff are not going to be assisting you in raising your kids.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I can't shoot. I don't even, just forget it. I ain't got no fingers for. No, I'm just playing. But even counting on your one hand, how many people you can really rely on for your kids. And so that's where, like, I love that lady, what's her name again? Tiana Middleton. Tiana is doing this for the young girls, because to me, that's the direction of changing the mentality. I got to change the mentality of my daughters.
And that's the generational curses that we have to change, because it's so many people. It's so crazy because there's a girl that I follow and she posted like, happy birthday to my mama. Now I know this girl is about, she's probably about 38, 39. Actually, she just turned 40. She has a daughter that's probably about 22. She got a daughter that's about 16. Or maybe she has a daughter, but her daughter's probably about 24. She got another daughter that's about 16 or 15 or something. And then her mother just turned like 55 or something. And I'm so that basically show your mama was 15 when she had you. You was 15 when you had your daughter. It's a cycle.
And that's just like me. And with my, you know, my mom had kids by 3 different men. You know what I'm saying? That she wasn't married to. So in my mind, even I thought of all of that when I got pregnant again. So the second baby, I wasn't tripping. I kind of was ready for another child because I had a miscarriage in between you know, my first and second child, but with the same person that I had my second child with. But so when I got pregnant, you know, there was this part of me that really wanted a baby because I had lost a baby. But also there was 11 years in between my first and my second child.
Mine too.
In my second and my third child, I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
Like 11 days.
like maybe almost
No, I'm
2
just-
years, right. Maybe a year and a half when I got pregnant. She was a year and a half
Right.
old. Like I was devastated.
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing with myself? I have got to be done lost my mind for real. And also had a health risk because I wasn't even supposed to have any more kids after London because I had a window on my uterus. So I was supposed to get my tubes tied and didn't, and then got pregnant. Right. So it's like a lot of different factors that affected me about even having another child. But like I said, I am glad that I did have her, and I think that a lot of women, if they had a little more faith in their situation, or if they had a little more support, they might make different choices.
And that's why I feel like even with this being like Mental Health Awareness Month, even though the month is almost over, it's so important that to me is the main topic when making this type of decision, or when making many decisions in your life, is where is your mental, so that the decision you're making is a sound decision that you can live with, and that it's going to be a healthy decision for you, because that's what it boils down to. Is my mom always said, baby you get, baby you sit. So if you decide you have that baby, you're the one that's going to be sitting with that baby. So you need to make sure that the decision that you made, whatever the decision is, it's going to be healthy for you, because if you're not healthy mentally as a person, how could you be a healthy mother to your child that you're bringing into this world? And then you're raising this child up to be a human being that has had to live with an unhealthy mother because she never got the help that she needed, or never got the tools, the coping skills to be able to, give them what they need. And then in turn, like I say, here's another cycle of someone being.
But I think it has a lot to do with why the world, when we say the world is going to shit, and I really feel like if we get deeper, like our community is going to shit. And so I think we have to start instilling different values in our children. You know what I'm saying? Because they out here listening to this music that is not promoting, any type of mental growth. They out here being exposed to a lot of different things on TV, and then they have our mess ups that they getting to watch. And so, how do we have to change the direction of their mentality so that it's not a do you, it's like a do your best.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And then, but also not being so strict or forcing, or so or forcing whatever your values down on them so hard to where they want to rebel and end up doing the opposite too. It's kind of like a healthy balance to be able to.
We got to start having real conversations with our kids about, and I'm gonna be honest, my son's 15, and we haven't really had the conversation, about where he's at with it with girls and stuff. I find it to be a hard conversation for me to have with my own child, even though I have it with other people's kids all the time.
Yeah.
So now I gotta figure out how I'm gonna have this conversation since I'm feeling a way about it. But it's just us making sure that we are trying to do what's best, and not always what's best for us, but what is best overall, and doing the right thing. And so I definitely have made many of mistakes, and so I don't look at people harshly about being in certain situations because I understand it. I think that we just have to get to a point where everything that's understandable ain't always acceptable.
Exactly.
And
yeah. And just when you know better, you do better. So regardless of what decision you make, like you say, you just have to do better moving forward, so that it's better for you, everyone around you, your kids, and just your mental. Really, just keep it a healthy mental. But I guess in closing, we could definitely talk about this again, and never knowing how this.
I really would want to talk about even kind of the effects of when you having children. Like we need to start talking about even where the change came in, where. And we can talk about that later, but just with Black people, as far as having unwed, babies out of wedlock, because it comes with some system stuff too.
Yeah, it's definitely other conversations that can be had broken off of this one. But moving forward, I do want to say real quick that we are doing the Momfriends thing in Atlanta this weekend, so that's something we'll talk about on the next podcast. It's just really talking about mothers and the struggles we deal with working and the
balancing.
things that we and balancing and just life. So that's something that we're excited about, and we'll be able to share with you next time we come to the table.
So thank you for tuning in to the Tiddy Pow Wow. You can actually catch us on Instagram at the Tiddy Pow Wow, and we also have a Facebook page called The Tiddy Put Together Pow Wow. 2 D's, double D's.
Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook. What did I say?
I don't know, but yeah,
okay,
Facebook
on
page.
Facebook. So our Facebook page. So definitely friend us, and maybe we can have some conversations on there.
All right, child. Thank you for kicking it with your girls.
It's going down. It's going down. It's going down on the Tiddy Pow Wow. It's going down. It's going down. It's going down on the Tiddy Pow Wow. It's going down. It's going down. It's going down on the Tiddy Pow Wow.